Greetings everybody from the Automate show in Detroit. We're here in the Schneider Electric booth with Andre Marino. Welcome.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be with you, Lucien.
Good seeing you. We're talking about the new era of U.S. manufacturing. Actually, you speak about the new era of U.S. manufacturing. What are the most important operational behavior and habits that you're seeing at the top performing plants that are and may not yet be adopting?
Yeah, that's a very good question. It's an exciting moment because we have industrial renaissance going on in the U.S., right? And first, the companies that are embracing transformation and trying really to frame the problem they are solving for are the ones that are more successful. And why is that? Because there's a lot of technology out there, correct? So if you don't know exactly what you're solving for, it's super hard to select the technology to solve the problem, and you end up being in the situation where we call it pilot purgatory, correct? That you try then to scale, and you can't scale because you don't know exactly what you're doing. So the combination of understanding what you're doing with a technology that's most applicable for your problem is a recipe for success. And some companies are not doing, so they are just struggling, in making progress in scale.
Got it. Now, you're touching on a very important subject, which is that tech evolving so fast. How can teams avoid innovation fatigue and stay focused on what really moves the needle?
Yeah, what we often discuss with our customers is don't go and do technology for the sake of technology. Take time, strategize first, you understand what you are trying to solve for, and then you digitize, right, the points that you want to measure, the data that you need to solve the problem, and then after you optimize and apply technology, correct? Otherwise, technology for the sake of technology leads back to our first question, which is you get back to the pilot purgatory, you cannot scale.
Right.
And the second piece I think it's important is that don't try to solve the hardest problem ever that you have, but you cannot replicate in other parts of the plant. Sometimes it's about solving small problems that can multiply many times, and then you get scale, and then you have a meaningful, saving, either energy saving, cost saving, productivity, But look for those problems that you can actually replicate in many areas of the plant, not just the most difficult one that you never get out of it.
Thank you for those insights. Now, I know your background. You have you ran a team of R&D in the automation building. We were just talking about that, and now you're focusing on automation for manufacturing. Anything that carried over that says, wow, this made an impact from the building and you're injecting this in manufacturing?
I think it's both spaces, industrial and buildings, they share today one problem. That's the data, correct? So no matter if you're in a hospital or you're in an industrial factory, you need to make sense of the data. And it's super hard as well because data is coming from many different devices and different vendors. So one thing that we try, to make sure that we give to our customers this ability is to have an open platform. Because if you lock the customer, it's super hard then to harmonize data. And if you don't have data, you cannot then run AI models and optimize the plants. So one thing that's very common right now is to make sense of the data and making sure that we have a way to harmonize data across multiple vendors, across systems. And that's something that is true for a building, that's true for a plant.
Got it.
Right?
Yeah, thank you for those insights. Now, how are you seeing flexible automation and AI used to make U.S. supply chain more competitive and not just more efficient?
For us, flexible translates into open. And why we believe that this is a matter of almost survival, if you will. Both to be, in the supply chain side by integrating different factories and different vendors, in your entire value chain, or inside your own plant. It's because if you're not able to be open and get data from different systems and have a way to collaborate and understand the information, you will not be able to run AI models because the fundamental piece of the AI is having proper data and contextualized data, right? So if you don't have that, you're going to fall behind because simply you will not be able to apply the technology.
Right, and that's one thing also being with Schneider for 12 of the 20 years in industrial automation. I appreciate the openness. And my entire career has been an open platform, from PC-based controls to operations management type of software, and allowing the data to flow from one system to another without proprietary bridges.
That's true.
So maybe talk a little bit about one common mistake companies make when rolling out automation across multiple sites, and how can they avoid it?
I think we kind of shared a bit before. I think the first mistake is just go out there and try to digitize everything without knowing what you're doing. What's the purpose?
Right.
Many companies end up spending a lot of money and getting frustrated because they don't see the return on investment, because they are not strategizing first. They are not understanding what the problem they are solving for. After you do that, then the question is, what's the first problem that you can scale? So try to find a problem that you can replicate the solution in many areas of your plant, right? Because then you can have meaningful gains at larger scale, instead of getting one problem and then you take too long to solve that problem because it's super hard, and then people get anxious that they are not seeing the results, and often they shut down the systems. The third piece is change management. So you have all this new technology coming. It's not something that people are used to, and they end up like having the systems that they are not able to get the value and extract the value out of it, because either they are not trained or they are scared about, or a combination, and then end up another nice system that nobody's used.
Got it. Thank you for those insights. Now, what's one thing that Schneider Electric is doing in its own North American factories that manufacturers should take note of?
I want to go back to the Lexington factory that we have in Kentucky, right? Which is an old factory, 50 years old.
All right. Is that a lighthouse?
It's a lighthouse for the World Economic Forum. You're right. Mm-hmm. And instead of normally you say, well, I can use the best of technology in a greenfield. We think that's actually the opposite, right? You can get a retrofit. You can retrofit a plant and get the best of an old factory and extract more productivity and capacity by using technology. And we did that in this factory. We saved 20% energy, reduced downtime by 6% year over year. We eliminate 90% of the paper of the factory, became one of the most technology advanced factories in the world. And the last point I want to reinforce, we have an operator that's there more than 40 years, right? Before, he was not even using a smartphone. Now he's running one of the most advanced factories in the world, and that takes change management, educating people, and showing that the technology is not there to replace them; it's to make their life easier, so they can do better jobs in analyzing the data and being more productive.
Thank you, for that. And I visited that particular plant, and I think my understanding was that your folks are trying to templatize those practices, so external companies could tap into the savings that you've accomplished with that plant into their own plants. Is that right?
That's true. I mean, we have 22 manufacturing sites just in the US and hundreds of sites around the globe. So we try exactly to do what we discussed here, is to identify those problems that we can replicate in many plants across the globe. And we are super happy to share with other companies. We are technology providers, but we are actually a big manufacturing company as well. So we kind of know both worlds, as a supplier of technology, but also using the technology in our own plants.
Right. Andre, thank you so much for the insights. And if you're an audience and have questions for Andre, feel free to leverage the hashtag on the screen, or just come to the booth in the auto show here.
It will be a pleasure. Thank you, Lucian.